NORAH McELLISTRIM trained for many years at Wimbledon, 40 in fact, before making the move to Hove. Her and her greyhounds now feature regularly on RPG TV, so I've come to find out more about the lady and how for her, like so many people in our sport, it all started with family.
My dad was a trainer here. He was one of the first trainers to be here with Sydney Orton, about 1930s, long time ago. I've never really wanted to do anything. I used to spend all my school holidays down the kennels, and it was just such fun being with the dogs all the time. And probably health and safety would rule it all out now, but my dad used to just chuck me in a kennel with a couple of the dogs, and there'd be no muzzles on them, and you just sit on the bed with them.
And so eventually you took over your dad's training licence. He never won the Derby, did he? And that's always been a dream of yours.
It's a very, very hard race to win. I think there's only been about 70-odd winners, but you've got to keep striving because you never know. The right dog will come along one day, we hope, and you get a bit of luck that night, and it's a Derby winner. But we were so thrilled just to get into the final with Kahina Cash that night. I thought Tim was going to have a heart attack, but everybody was just sort of screaming and laughing, and some were crying, you know. But and he did us proud, but he just wasn't quite good enough to win it.
And there they go, racing out towards the first bend. Taylor Sky out fast, barefoot bullet. Kahina Cash up with the pace as well. It's Taylor Sky who goes round in front. Up in a second was Westmead Guru. 5 barefoot bullets after this. After these come 4. Razzle Dazzle George. They race down towards the second last bend. It could well be a Charlie Lister Derby yet again. Into the record books walks Charlie as Taylor Sky comes around the final bend. The trap one Hoodoo goes out the sky to Taylor Sky.
Kahina Cash is now here. You have a soft spot for him, as you do with pretty much all your greyhounds, but he looks so well and he's a real fun dog.
Oh, he's more lively now than when we raced him, because when we had him, he was a nightmare to feed. I was going down the fish and chip shop buying him 2 pieces of fish one day, then I was buying him chickens the next. Then I found he liked burgers, but unfortunately they were from Waitrose. He wouldn't eat burgers from any other supermarket, because I came into work one day to get the paper and I thought, well, I'll get the cheap ones, but he knew the difference. But now he's eating better and he's much, much lively, and I kept him because I want to know that he's safe for the rest of his life. I don't want anything to happen to any of them, but I think a dog that gets to the Derby final, you know, it's something really special, and he deserves to be treated extra special.
Johnny, as he's now known, isn't the only one of your racing greyhounds that would end up living here, because you do seem to build a real rapport and have a soft spot for the dogs, no matter how good or bad they are, don't you?
Well, I think they all deserve to be looked after. You know, even the slowest one, I know they're well looked after and they're very happy here, and I'd like that to continue till they die.
And you have a few at home as well, don't you? Much to your husband's dismay, they keep coming home.
Well, they do, but I am getting better, and I must say Denise from the Wimbledon Welfare and Jenny Bunting from Brighton, I trust them completely to home the dogs, and they do a very good job of it. So I'm not getting the numbers. I always had a minimum of about 42 or more, but I'm down to maybe half of that now.
We mentioned your husband Brian. He's quite a pivotal part of tracing greyhounds for you, isn't he, and bringing them into the kennels?
Yes, he is. It's very difficult. If you haven't got loads of, you know, like 10 or 15,000, you've got to try and look for bargains with potential. So hopefully he's done it right.
How's your racing club going?
It's going very well. And everybody seems to be enjoying it, and we seem to be getting members all the time. And we've got members in Bermuda, we've got some in France, so and we got one lot in Spain. And they all seem to be enjoying it, and that's part of the thing. Greyhound racing is really a lot of enjoyment for people, and they're all people that care about the dogs, and so they'll all be looked after when they're retired.
What's been the best greyhound you've ever trained?
Well, it would have to be, one of them would have to be Orbeg Ball, who was owned by Ivor Stocker, and Lenson Billy was another good one. But Orbeg Ball went to Ireland twice, which is very difficult to beat the Irish, and he won the same competition at Lifford 2 years running, so he was a very, very good dog. And I thought I actually had a Derby winner in him in the semi-finals. He took the lead coming off the last bend, and about 30 yards from the winning line, he broke his hock. So that was probably my worst night ever.
We talked about your father. He was, of course, a trainer at Wimbledon. You then took over that mantle. You were there for 40 years, which is an awful long time. It must have been a big decision for you to leave.
Well, it was, and I didn't actually, it was half made for me, because I got a phone call asking me if I would go to Brighton, and it was out of the blue, and I did say, first of all, that I'd have to think about it, because I love Wimbledon and I'd love to be back there now, but financially it just wasn't viable, and talked it over with the staff. I went and said to them when I come off the phone, we've been offered this job at Brighton, what do you think? And they were all going mad, take it, take it. And I was still very unsure because I'm not very ambitious. I've always lived with a 7-mile radius of the kennels, and to go down to Brighton, but it's a long, long way to go 5 times a week. You know, it's 110 miles journey there and back. And but it's turned out all right. I wouldn't like to do so much racing, but it's there and you've got to do it. Just got to get on with it.
If Pascal Taggart's plans were to come off at Wimbledon, do you see yourself taking back that throne of Queen of Wimbledon?
Well, if it did go back and it's turned out really good prize money, then obviously I would love to go back because it's only half an hour away. And if things were better, then, you know, there's no point denying it. I would love to go back there. I mean, I'm very happy at Brighton, but it's an awful lot of work.
Prior to Ricky Holloway taking over as chair of the GTA, that was the role that you held. Are you kind of glad to be out of it now?
I'm not really a political person, and I only did it at the time because there was a bit of controversy then, and I thought I'd only do it for a little while, but I am glad I'm out of it. But I've got to say, the GBGB were very good to listen, and I think if everything could just calm down, and it's a silly old thing, but just be friendly because you've got to work together. We can't go on fighting each other. And I think personalities should be forgotten and just get on with the issue of making greyhound good again. When I was GTA chair, there was over 900 trainers. Now we're just over 300. You've got to have the prize money because they've got to pay staff. You know, you've got to give them proper food, not just a bowl of complete food every day. And you need staff to sort of give the dogs a good quality of life, but they can't afford it if the kennel fees aren't good enough.
For anybody thinking about putting a greyhound with you, Norah, one thing I would say is they're very well looked after, and it does say on your website that welfare is primary for you. Is that the case?
It is. I don't actually do the internet because I'm totally useless on it, and I even went to the library to get lessons, but I got a bit bored, so I didn't do the course. But Gary Maunders does it. But no, but it's very true. That is, I think the welfare is got to be the most important thing because they're the ones that do the product for us, and they're the ones that deserve to be looked after.
So your ultimate dream would be a greyhound to come into your kennel that you can spoil rotten, and he still goes and wins the Derby Trophy for you.
Oh, well, it would be. It'd be a lovely dream. As I say, Johnny was spoilt rotten, but I never ever dreamed he'd get to the Derby final. I thought he'd be a good little grader. But that is everybody's dream, to win the Derby. I think even people who only ever have a graded dog, they think sometimes that maybe this one, although they didn't pay a fortune for it, is going to be the one. And it's just a dream to hang on to. And I think you just got to keep hoping.